Now you can also create decals in Blender. As a matter of fact, you can create decals and sell them on Gumroad. Believe it or not, a lot of people, including myself, buy these packs, so you know, if you're dedicated and know how to do it correctly, you can actually make some money selling decals. So first of all, it is a complex process and takes some getting used to. So we're not going to discuss it in this course to the fullest. We actually have videos on YouTube for this, a lot longer if you want to, you know, really dive into creating decals. The first one is by Ryu here. How to create alpha decals with Decal Machine in Blender Part 1. This is a really good video if you want to learn. He has a few different parts to this and you can learn how to create decals. I also have one on my channel if you want something a little bit more broken down, a little bit, you know, shorter, I suppose. And yeah, that's how you basically create decals. Watch these videos. But in this video, I'll give you a quick overview. If you don't want to, you know, sit through several hours of video, I'll show you a quick and easy way to do it. So it'll be near impossible to showcase every single trick you need to know to create decals, so we're going to just do the basics. Once again, if you want to learn all the advanced stuff, which is outside the scope of this course, you can go watch our videos on that on YouTube. I'll quickly show you how you can create one though. It's not too bad. So by default, what you want to start with is a base plane here, and you want the plane to be directly on the top of the grid, not below it, not above it, directly on the top, Z value of 0 for the location. Whenever you're creating a decal, you want the detail on the base mesh to go downwards, never upwards. As a matter of fact, the detail should never be above the base plane, or else you're going to get issues. So let's just do a very basic decal here. What we're going to do is hop into the top view. I'm going to go into the circle cutter. And with decals, you want to be as detailed as possible, which means you can really ramp up the mesh density and just go crazy with it. Topology doesn't really matter. What matters is the good shading and the good bake. So we're going to go in here and I'll press Control D, put the vertex count up to about 100 so it's nice and smooth. And I'm just going to hold Control with snap turned on and come out from the center here. And then maybe we'll just cut down into the plane. And then we can just apply the boolean in here. Very simple. And this is going to be an issue because we will always want to bevel our decals. And if we try to bevel at this steep of an angle, it's going to cause issues. Let me show you an example. So if I extruded this down and filled this in and tried to bevel these edges, which we need to do, you'll see why, we're going to immediately get issues. If I press Control B, you're going to see, well, I guess in this case it actually worked well, but in some cases it'll actually start intersecting over itself. I bet you if I did like a closer example it would probably do that. Maybe one like this. Yeah, like an example like this, you're going to see the edge starts kind of overlapping, and that's going to cause issues in the bake. So the topology isn't an issue, but the location of your Boolean connections is an issue. So in cases like this, you always want to connect your corners perpendicular to the cutout. So in this case, you want to connect to this vertex, for example. You know, if you're 1 or 2 over, it doesn't really matter too much. But you want to make sure you're at a perfectly perpendicular location to the corner. And then what you can do is go into edge mode, select this edge and press Control X, and you can dissolve that one out. Same idea over here. Connect this up, dissolve that one out. And the reason it's not like this in the first place is because Blender's Boolean connection algorithm, I guess, just isn't advanced enough to know the best location to connect to. So we have to do a little bit of you know, manual adjusting. So now you're going to see if I make any sort of bevel, it's going to be just fine. We're not going to get any overlap. It's going to go back perfectly. And I mean, at a certain point it might overlap, but you're never going to have a bevel, you know, this big. It's simply ridiculous. So yeah, connections like this are perfectly fine and they're always going to serve you quite well, and yeah, you'll be good to go. Next thing that's super important is you want to make sure that all your edges are sharpened. Reason being is because you want the normals on each face to be perfectly flat. You want to make sure the shading's flat so the normals are sticking perfectly perpendicular to each face. And put quite simply, all you have to do is press Q and click on Sharpen, and it's going to sharpen all of the harsh edges in here. And then at this point, all you would really have to do is bevel the outer area. You always want to do that, so Alt-Shift-click these outer edges here, Control-B to bevel, and like I said, you really want to get a lot of detail in here, so it's okay to, get like a million segments. Just get in here, crank it up, make the bevel, a decent size. And for every other harsh edge, you want to bevel that as well, otherwise the bake's not going to look very good. So maybe to make this one a bit more exciting, I'll inset this face here, inset it again, and then grab it on the Z axis and get something, cool looking like this, right? And like I said, every single harsh edge we want to bevel. So we're going to go in here and just Alt-Shift-click them like this. We'll get this one as well. Control-B, bevel that. Now you're going to see we have a nice bevel on all the harsh edges. Now you can also use hard ops bevels, but there's one thing you need to keep in mind. So I'm going to undo this and we'll use hard ops bevels for example. So obviously to bevel with hard ops you want to press Q and then go to bevel. Now we found, Ryu and I found issues with this in the past, but we've also found out that if you use a weighted normal with a value of 100, it seems to work fine. Now with hard ops bevels you want to really increase the segment count as well. Get this nice and smooth, right? Pull it to about here. Make sure you do not harden the normals. I've found that I've had issues with that. So instead of hardening the normals, we're going to go here and add a weighted normal modifier. And then we're going to put the weight value up to 100. And now you should be good to go. And I don't think this will cause an issue, but just to avoid any potential complications, especially if you're joining objects together when doing things like subset decals, I would just come in here and apply the modifiers and just be done with it. So now you're going to have some very nice bevels, and on every single ending of each bevel you're going to have a sharp, which is going to reorient the normals and make it completely flat shaded. This is what you want. So at this point all we have to do is bake it. So we're going to go in here to the machine panel, click on the little wand icon, and we're going to have the bake settings right here. So this is where people lazy out and don't do a very good job. So by default the bake settings are going to be on anti-aliasing ×2, resolution 256. I can already tell you this is way too low. Let me show you why. If we select the decal here and click on create simple decal, should only take a second because it's going to be so low quality. Wait for this to bake out. Depending on your computer it might take a little bit longer. And if we go into the material view here, you're going to see we have a decal, right? But the quality is not very good. I'm going to go in here to adjust it, press the D key, and you're just going to see the quality is very low resolution. You're also going to see that the edges here have, pretty bad anti-aliasing going on. So to make this more smooth, we're going to turn the anti-aliasing up to 4 times, and to increase the resolution, we're going to put the resolution up to a value of 1024 right here. Now in general you don't have to change too much else unless you have an emissive material on it, then you would click on bake emission. There's other settings in here which you can read up on in machines videos, or like I said, you can watch our YouTube videos on creating decals. This is way outside the scope of this course. We're not going to be creating decals at all. I just thought it would be cool to show you guys for those of you who are interested. So basically you always want 4 times anti-aliasing, 1024 resolution. Please don't go any lower, especially if you're selling them. We want good decals on the market, and we don't want any, low resolution bad decals on our meshes. So make sure you don't cheap out. Go high on these settings here. It might take you a while to bake depending on your machine, but great things didn't come with, seconds worth of time. Great things come with patience. So yeah, once you're done making your decal, right, all you have to do, put the settings up high, click on create simple decal. Now I have a pretty fast machine, so it shouldn't take me too long, but still I'm going to pause the video here. So here's the decal. Took about 3 minutes or so to bake, but you're going to see the quality here is way cleaner. And by the way, once you're done baking, I would definitely suggest going into local view so you can see it, / on the numpad. Now we have a much cleaner decal, and the edges are a lot more smoothed out, as you can see, so not too bad. Now what you need to do when you're done with the baking process is you need to adjust the parallax. The parallax is what gives this decal the illusion of depth. So obviously this is just a single plane, right? This is not an actual mesh, but it looks like an actual mesh when we adjust the parallax here. So what we're going to do is go to the adjust panel and press the D key. And what I would always do off the bat is pull this all the way to the left and make it completely flat. And then what you need to do is go back to the adjust panel, press the D key, and you're going to hold shift and slowly move it to the right. You're going to see it looks deeper and deeper. The moment you want to stop is when the stretching on the sides start to become very obvious. Right now it starts warping and we see a lot of stretching going on. So right about here is where we want to stop. It's not too bad on the corners and we still have that depth illusion. And now we have a perfect decal, really good shading, really good everything going on, and this guy is ready for use. So after I'm done making my decals, what I like to do is add in a quad sphere. If you don't have this option, you just go to Cube, use Hard Ops, and then go to Sphere Cast and press like Control 3 or Control 4 to give it more resolution, Control 5 even. Then we can go in here and apply these modifiers. And I would suggest making these spheres really dense just so that way they project nicer. So maybe we'll do one more subsurf level here. I think the max is 4, so we have to do another set. Yeah, get this nice and dense because this is going to really begin to show the detail in the decals. So I'm going to move this over a bit, add a new material, make this one nice and shiny with metallic, and then maybe make the base color a bit darker. Now what we can do is take this decal, we're going to leave the one in the center of the scene, and instead we're going to duplicate it with Shift D, hold Control to snap it here, scale it down, and then project it like we did before, and we can also smooth out this sphere here. So at this point you want to check for any visible issues on the decal. In this case it looks really good. Maybe we'll come in here and slightly adjust the parallax a bit, move it up a little bit, like that. And as long as your decal looks good, you can add this to a new decal library to save for your future scenes. So to add this decal to a library so that way you always have access to it like the ones I have here, what we're going to do is go to Edit and then Preferences, go to the Decal Machine Add-ons panel here, and all you have to do, let me expand the size of this a little bit, all you need to do is go down here, click on the Create Empty button, make a new library. You can name it whatever you want. I'll just name this one Example, right? Click Enter. You're going to have this new thing in here called Example. Save your preferences. And now what you can do is select your decal, go to the Machine panel, go down here to where it says Add to Library, and then click on the User Decal Library. Now you should see that new name you just made. In this case I called mine Example at the bottom. And then you can just name it whatever you want, and all you're going to do is click Add Decal to Library. So I'll just call this Example 01, and then what we'll do is click Add Decal to Library, and now you're going to see if I go to the Decal Machine hot menu, I have access to that decal whenever I want it. So we go in here, here it is, and you can use this whenever you want in any scene that you need to use it in. So that's about it. That's how you make decals. Super easy, super fun once you get used to it. Like I said, if you want to learn more in-depth decal creating processes because it's not this simple, then definitely check out our tutorial videos on YouTube on that, a bit outside the scope of this course.